Good afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel for another exciting episode of Hunting the Fish podcast. Today, we decided to continue our journey north and explore the very, very sparsely populated area known as Whitney Point. And the reason I decided to come out here is because last week's video, I will say, was not the most exciting. I blame myself for that because of the area that I chose, but I still made it quite fun. Whitney Point is a village located in the town of Triangle. It is a very, very small village with only a 1.11 square mile radius, and as of the 2020 census, only had a population of 960. So in size, it is definitely smaller than Owego. And in population, it is also way less dense than Owego as well. And also in square footage. Now, I don't think I've ever had the pleasure of walking around Whitney Point. So I decided to park my car down on Main Street. Ironic, because most places have a main street. And I decided I was going to walk around the area and, skip straight to the part where I show you guys, some of the area around me. Before we get into that, even though I'm already walking, obviously I got my counterpart walking with me. Give you guys a little bit of backstory to the village of Whitney Point. Whitney Point was founded as a village in 1791, but did not begin to flourish until the arrival of the Whitney family, which the village was hensely named after in the 1800s. Whitney Point was almost devastated by a village fire, but luckily over the years following was able to recover. Now, Whitney Point has a lot of significance to the area, being as one of the only villages in Broome County that holds a dam inside of a park, and also the location of the Broome County Fair since 1834. Wow, it's a long time. Long before I was ever around. Whitney Point, I guess you could say, is it's not very country. Although it is a prominent area for the Amish folks and as sparsely populated as possible, but it's still a very nice area that people come to visit, being as for the aforementioned Broome County Fair, summer trips to Dorchester Park, or just a drive through northern New York State. Whitney Point for me is probably one of the only places that does not have any significance to my life. Because of the fact that I never really spent a lot of time out here. When I did venture out here to Whitney Point, it was either passing through on my way to Lyle to go to the springs to get water, or to go to the Broome County Fair. So I guess you could say that it's not very important to me. Whitney Point is very, I guess you could say, not dense, but from what I've noticed, it's not very significant and historical sense anyway, just because of the size of it. But if you take a trip around the area, you'll see a lot different, because the area is actually quite prominent for quite a bit of things, which we'll get to once we get back onto the main road. So I guess I've reached the point, pun intended, where I talk about some of the the features that Whitney Point has to offer. And I guess let's begin. So as I stated, I am on Main Street, an area that I've actually never been to. Over here on the right, we have a place called the New 5 and 10. I guess it's a discount grocery store. They are open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6. And obviously they're a grocery store. One of the main things that I do recall from my short time in Whitney Point, is that Whitney Point is very prominent in the fact that it had a railroad system that pretty much goes through the entire area. And up ahead on the left there is the hardware store, and Ace True Value, or Ace Home Center. Not sure why it's called Green's Ace Home Central. Probably has nothing to do with the village of the same name, but that's pretty convenient, that they have a hardware store, but I'm pretty sure it's not the only one. Over here on my left, I mentioned the Point. We actually have their local wine and spirit shop, which I believe is a former train depot. Now, the thing that I like about Whitney Point is, even though Whitney Point is a very, very small town, it has a lot of history. And for those of you who have been watching my videos or just know me in general, you know that I love history. So we're actually going to take a walk over here to the Whitney Point, or I guess the Point Wine and Spirits. Obviously we're not going to go in it because I got my kid with me and I don't feel like doing a video indoors, but I'm gonna, guys, it looks like they recently, after like a couple of years, they remodeled the side of it. But right here, you can obviously tell that this used to be a train station. And obviously, because of the fact that the railroad tracks are literally on the other side of this building, is also a dead giveaway. Now, unfortunately, I know, as I mentioned, a lot about the history of Whitney Point, just because I've never spent a lot of time out here. But knowing that this place has a historical lineage in the sense of a railroad depot is fascinating to me. And now I would like to come out here more often and actually, you know, spend some time out here, even though I live like 30 some miles the opposite direction. But that never stopped anybody from traveling, because obviously I love to travel. So hopefully I get out here this summer and I can actually explore a little bit and you know, just get to know the area in general. Over here on the right hand side of me, we have a very unique shop as Advanced Graphics Wares and Promotions, and they do embroidered and printed apparel, trophies and plaques, signers. Now, being as Whitney Point is the type of place that it is, I feel like that place is particularly important because of the many activities and events that the area does, which is actually pretty cool, because if you say that you're a high school student, you win a trophy at the school, come right down here, get it embroidered to your customization, as they call it, which, if you ask me, that's pretty cool. I don't think Owego has an embroidery place, but I'm pretty sure you can find one if you try hard enough. A lot of the houses down here, I will say, are not in the greatest shape, but they are I guess you could say they are good, well-kept houses nonetheless. At the beginning of the video, I had mentioned that Whitney Point was ravaged by a fire back in the 1800s. Whitney Point was also ravaged by flooding in 1935 and 1936, which actually led to the building of the Whitney Point Dam. And luckily, over the years, over the past almost 100, Whitney Point has not suffered very much flooding. Behind me here is a place known as Lakeside Legacy, where I guess they do their payroll and bookkeeping. Not sure what that means, but it's nice to have a place like that out here. Over here on my left, past walking down the road, is the local library, Mary L. Wilcox Memorial Library. Being as Whitney Point is in Broome County, I'm pretty sure that Whitney Point, this particular library is in the 4-county library system, which means you have to have a Broome County or a 4-county library card to, obviously you'll never get denied access to a library, but you have to have a library card to be able to check out books and stuff, which as of September of 2 years ago, I no longer have, because I do not live in Broome County anymore, which I'm okay with. I'd rather not, you know, have one of those. Over here, right, we are coming up to the United States Post Office, Whitney Point. Obviously, every major, I guess you could say, village slash hamlet that is incorporated has its own post office. Obviously, being as it's Sunday, they are closed. But you know, their mail's got to go somewhere to be sorted out to be sent throughout the village. Over here is a Dollar General. What do you know? Dollar Generals seem to be a very, very prominent thing in a lot of areas, just because, you know, small towns like this, people need places to go that aren't gas stations or overpriced grocery stores to get groceries. And as overabundant as they may seem, apparently Dollar General is the place to go. There happens to be a Dollar General in just about every single area that I've ever been to, even the ones that you would never think there would be a Dollar General in. But we'll cover that in some other videos. Over there, I don't know how I did that, but there's a church, which I don't see any markings for. It just says Main Street. I guess it's the Methodist Church of Whitney Point. Oh, it's a meeting place. It's the art center and meeting place. Maybe it's not a church. But that's nice, you know, that the village residents have a place that they can go to do stuff like arts and crafts and, you know, have their annual town meetings. Over here behind me, we actually have a memorial place called Sunset Memorial Services. Also nice to have in the area. Now, the main reason, pun intended, why this is called Main Street is because it's pretty much over here that you have all of your, I guess you could say, main attractions. And I'll brief you some of those. We have the Guthrie of Whitney Point, located over there. Looks like it used to be a historical building, not sure what. Over here we have the Whitney Point Physical Therapy. On the left we have the local insurance agency, Nationwide and H&R Block. We have the seemingly out of business Whitney Point Fitness Center, which stated in December of 2023 that they closed. Okay, I guess they still have they still have a thing out in green, which is pretty cool, but I didn't even know there was a fitness center out here, which, I mean, being as Whitney Point is a smaller than normal area, you know, why would they need a fitness center? I mean, you could always go to the gym somewhere. Obviously, right here, we got the Village of Whitney Point Fire Department. Always nice to have those. The sign on the building says 1968, which is actually a pretty good time, which is pretty historic. It means it is 64 years old, which isn't bad. Over there, probably turn this way. Over there across the street, I guess we have the local bar called Scooters. I've heard my dad talk pretty well about that place. We have Naps down there in the corner. I guess they do propane and fuel oil. And then we have what looks like it used to be a historic building, but has been since transformed into a real estate office, a pharmacy, a Walgreens pharmacy, and another what used to be an insurance agency but is now a massage place. Over here we have an M&T Bank, and then we also have a place known as Bloom Tax Partners, which I'm not sure what they specialize in, obviously taxes, but who knows. Let's see, we have Fuse Trend Permanent Jewelry. Looks by Lori's. We have Sparky's Tavern. Very, very beautiful building. Would love to learn some history about that place. We have an empty building permit for building, already expired. Another side street that leads to a couple different places. We have Dominic's Pizza over there in the distance, and then next to that is the Lucky Kitchen, which is the local Chinese food place. Didn't even know Whitney Point had a Chinese food place. Up here we have the very historic Hotel Griffin, which I actually did do some research on, but I didn't see anything fascinating about it because the Hotel Griffin was transformed into Aiello's restaurant. Now, as much as I like Italian food, I've never been here. It is on my to-do list to go to at some point, but whenever that time comes, hopefully will be a good one for me and my family. I'm going to stop here at the intersection, and I'll show you guys a little bit of the area. Here we have the intersection of Route 11, 79, 26, and the road basically forks. So if you go this way, you go back towards Shenango, or no, if you go this way, you go back down Route 11 towards Castle Creek. If you go out this way, you can go out towards Green, and then you can go to Shenango Forks, or you can go out to Cincinnatus, I believe. And out that way is also Dorchester Park. And if you go back this way, you actually come down the road that I came to get out here to Whitney Point. Now, unfortunately, I was going to stay out here a little bit longer, but you can see by the look of the sky, it doesn't look about to be very pleasant. So we are going to very gently cross the street and try to get back to the car before it starts storming. Because I believe the forecast out here said that it was going to start raining around 5:30. And I'm going to let you guys know that Whitney Point, as I stated, is a very fascinating place because of the fact that it has more than you would expect from a village that is so small. Some of those places, obviously there's a local gas station, which I believe is one of 5 now in the area. There's also the Whitney Point High School. There is the Whitney Point Elementary School, which is actually right down the road, I believe, from where I am parked. There is there's recently built Burnett Dairy that just came to Whitney Point. There's actually a McDonald's that is attached to a gas station. There is I think there's another pizza place. There is a Greg's Wholesale Market that's located out here. Just a lot of really good stuff, and I mean a lot. Apparently the Scooters is closed. It doesn't give any information as to why, but it just says we will miss everyone. See you around. It's kind of sad because that means that they probably went out of business. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to put you guys in the pocket for a second. Hold on, kid. Rain. So, like I said, Whitney Point, has its, Whitney Point has its highs and lows. Obviously, like most places, it was hit pretty hard, business-wise, by the effects of COVID. And it looks like as a result, it actually just in time. Sorry about that. I was trying to get in the car before it started raining, but didn't quite make it. Whitney Point has its, we'll say it has its perks. Now, like most places that I've covered, and what I was doing was I was explaining to you guys, you know, the pros and cons of Whitney Point. Being as it is so close to a waterway, as I mentioned, it did experience a lot of flooding, but luckily the village has been spared over the last almost 100 years due to the building of the Whitney Point Reservoir. And luckily it also, you know, it's attracted a lot of new, I can't say new establishments, but it's tried to feature some growth in the years since its incorporation. Obviously, I mentioned the recently built Burn and Dairy. This Dollar General is relatively new, and you know, with most places, it is a very historical area. Now that I'm able to look here, that place that I mentioned, the physical therapy place that I'm looking across the street from, there's actually a marker on the top of it that says Stone 1897. I don't know particularly what all these like markers mean, but being as I do know a little bit about history, I know that some of them are designated for, I guess you could say, historic things that occurred when the buildings were actually built. I know that in Johnson City there's a lot of those, and some of those are they are namesakes of the people that built them, which I believe that is what that building is. But yeah, like I said, I honestly apologize because of the sudden brought on of this torrential downpour that we're currently experiencing. I was unable to finish the rest of my walk. I was actually going to walk down by the school and show you guys some of the, I guess you could say, some of the attractions down that way. I had mentioned earlier a little bit ago that there was the Burn and Dairy, there's the McDonald's, there's actually a Napa down there, there's a Subway, there's the Whitney Point High School, which is the site of the Broome County Fair. There is the grocery store, another pizza place. You know, there's just I guess you could say that that's why I'm comparing this. I'm comparing Whitney Point to Owego, is because in the same sense that, well, Owego is bigger and has a lot more people, Whitney Point has just a little bit more than Owego, maybe just a little bit more than Owego does, in this village sense of the area. Than Owego, because if you think about it, Owego only has, you know, like a handful of stuff. Whitney Point pretty much follows suit. Doesn't have a lot, but the residents here, especially the ones that have been here for like generations, don't really have a lot to complain about. So with that being said, I am going to end this video, and I am going to enjoy this very messy drive back to town, and I will see you on the next trip to the pond.